And I'm very honored to be in the presence of all of you wonderful professors and teachers. I was just thinking, I was doing a little mathematical calculation in the morning. I'm like, each one of you probably in your career as a professor would have gone through 10,000 students minimum, right? And that's 10,000 lives that you're changing and you're transforming, and that impacts India directly. So I am extremely honored that I'm in the middle of all of you esteemed, leaders in education field. And I'll share a little bit from my knowledge, what I know about IQ, EQ, and SQ. My focus is going to be more on the SQ aspect because most of you have heard of IQ, EQ. You probably have quite a bit of knowledge about that. So I'll touch upon those from a Vedic perspective, but my focus will be on really unveiling the SQ aspect because that's a little less known than the other two. With that kind of note on bias, I'll move forward. So a little bit about my introduction, like Dr. Gupta mentioned, I have been an entrepreneur since the age of 19, first in US, then now in India. I've been fortunate to be mentored by some of the best CEOs in the world, from Nokia, Motorola, innovators, person who invented the cell phones, the person who invented barcodes, the person who invented garage door openers, people like that. So been very fortunate to learn a lot in a short span of life. And my journey with Bhagavad Gita, my journey as a spiritual seeker started when I was 5 years old, but it really fructified when I was in college. And so my entrepreneurship and my spiritual journey started hand in hand. And it has changed my life, and it has changed lives of many people that I've been able to influence in my little way. Some of the companies that Dr. Gupta talked about in US, Canada, Vietnam, Hong Kong, and India. Kolkata Ventures being my first company when I came back to India in 2016. So that has been my dream project, you could say, because it changes lives literally. You can see people transforming, they make their dreams come true. And 400 plus revenue generating startups, 4,500 new jobs. During this pandemic, I was being interviewed by, people are firing from big companies, but Kolkata Ventures backed startups are all hiring. Like, yes, this is evolution. This is, the advent of the new, and that's what we are all about. And all of these entrepreneurs that you see have a foundation of spirituality and Bhagavad Gita. I also teach at some of the top institutions in US and India, 6 IITs, 3 IIMs, and 2 US universities. I love sharing knowledge. And, I also don't mind being featured. It's important in today's world so that people know who's genuine, who's not. It's not book knowledge that I'm going to share with you today, but I'm going to share with you something I've experienced through my life. So, and by God's grace, to whatever degree, there has been some little bit of success that hopefully validates some of the things that I'm going to share with you today. So these are the learning outcomes, what you can expect from today's, the next couple of hours. Actually, next 1.5 hours, I'll have half an hour for Q&A, if that's okay with everyone. So we'll first define IQ, EQ, and SQ from a Vedic perspective. We'll talk about aligning the three and how it can be done. Right, and an intellectual identity, emotional identity, and spiritual identity, who we are intellectually, emotionally, spiritually, the value system based on Gita principles, and then development of a worldview based on personal identity and value system. So how we see the world based on who we are, who we think we are, and how we develop who we think we are. So explain through what you'll get to know more of these Sanskrit words as we go through Sambandha Gyan, Abhidya Gyan, and Prayojana Gyan. And lastly, we will end with the Isha Vasyam principle as given in the Isha Upanishad, how to live life in service to God, humanity, and all living entities. So we'll start with talking about the mind, intelligence, and soul before we get into EQ, IQ, SQ. Because that's what it refers to, right? EQ refers to the mind, intelligence, IQ, and soul aspect, the spiritual aspect is SQ. So from a Vedic perspective, what does it all mean? So the mind has few things, the thoughts, desires, emotions. That's what mind is made up of. So one might not understand that the mind and intelligence are two different things because they work together simultaneously. But Krishna defines them very, very differently. So we'll first talk about the mind as given in chapter 6 of Bhagavad Gita. The characteristics of mind as defined by Krishna is it's restless, turbulent, obstinate, and strong. What does that mean? So if we look at ourselves, so constantly the mind is telling us, go here, do that. I want to smell this, touch this, see this, hear this, right? And when we get that, we're like, I want something else, right? So constantly the mind is moving from one thing to another. And that's how our life has been. It creates a lot of chaos. And it's strong. When it wants something, it really wants it. It doesn't care. So it's like, I have to submit something on a deadline. But you know what? I want that ice cream right now, or I want to watch that movie right now, or the music is stuck in my head. I want to hear it right now. The mind is strong, it's obstinate, and it's just like a child, right? So yesterday, actually, I was giving a webinar on mind control and meditation, but today we don't have time for that. But it's very interesting if you can talk for hours about the mechanics of the mind, and if you can control that, you can actually control your life. So Krishna goes further in explaining that the mind is a repository of thoughts, aspirations, and desires. It carries the impressions and conceptions of memory and forgetfulness. So for example, if somebody has been abused as a child, they're going to carry that conception forward throughout their lives. And whoever has been their abuser, if that profile matches with anyone, they're going to always feel that fear. Or let's say somebody has been burnt, they're going to have a fire phobia. So impressions on our mind that we get growing up, right? It can have a very long lasting effect, and it defines how we see the world, right? So the mind carries those impressions, not only from this life, but for those of you who understand reincarnation, it carries it from lifetime to lifetime. In fact, in hypnotic regression is a therapy where one can showcase, then one can be in hypnotic stage and subconscious mind. You can be traversed from current state to your all the way down to your childhood, your fetal state, and the lifetimes before that. You can Google it, hypnotic regression. It's actually a therapy for phobia. Sometimes you don't know why you're fearful of something, and then you go back 1 life, 2 life, 3 life, and you can see, oh wow, I died in a particular way, or something happened, that's why I'm claustrophobic, or a phobia for heights, or phobia for water, right? So hypnotic regression really showcases. Then there is Professor Ian Stevenson he's done his research with 2,000 documented cases of people having past life memory, where they've documented that you take the child to their past life home and whatnot, and they can show you, this is my picture on the wall, this is my ex-husband, this is my etc., right? 2,000 such documented cases. He's already dead, and 3 generations later in Princeton University, Virginia Tech, other universities, they're continuing Professor Ian Stevenson's research on past lives. So past life is not something that's a Hindu belief or it's a hoax. It's actually scientifically proven that it exists. And, of course, we need the stamp from the Western world for us to believe whatever is Vedic, but it is very much a fact. So the point is the mind carries those impressions from past lives. So not everything is from this life and our childhood, but there are past lives, and that carries forward how we see the world and how we define ourselves and define the rest of it. Some people are racist, some people can be casteist, some people can be gender biased. All of that is coming from our preconceived notions of the mind, and that's where the basis of EQ, emotional quotient, lies, right? And lastly, the analysis of data gathered from the senses. So what does that mean? So Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita, Manaha Shashtani Indriyani Prakritistani Karshati, which means Manaha Shashtani. So he says 6 senses. He doesn't say 5 senses. So we know 5 senses we have, right? Sight, touch, hearing, taste, etc. So Krishna is saying Manaha Shashtani. So mind plus the 5 senses combined, he said Shashtani, 6 senses. Why? Because these 5 senses bring that information forward to the mind, and the mind processes it, interprets it, and based on that defines what the mind wants to do, or tells the intelligence, hey, I want this done, right? I want that BMW car, so work hard, get that promotion so that we can have so much money and we can get that BMW car. So mind is constantly processing the information coming from the senses. So you can see the senses just like a camera. You can pluck out somebody's eye and plug it into somebody else's eye. There's eye transplant. There is all kinds of transplants that you can do. So these are nothing but the machine. But the main thing happens at the mental level and how we see things. The same situation can be seen, heard very differently. And that's the interpretation of the mind based on past impressions. All right. So now comes to the intelligence. So according to the Vedic understanding, intelligence is a discerning factor backed by sources of knowledge. So just to give you an example, the mind looking down from a high-rise building says, wouldn't it be nice to jump? And the intelligence says, it hurt a lot last time you fell from bed. Jumping from here might kill you. So going back, it's a discerning factor based on sources of knowledge. So when I say sources of knowledge, so knowledge can be acquired from our experience, right? What we have gone through personally. Knowledge can be also acquired from books like the Bhagavad Gita or physics, chemistry, mathematics. We have all these books. Knowledge also can be acquired from television and internet. So we watch these news channels and they're constantly creating fear and all kinds of things, whatever they want to showcase. Like Vladimir Putin, I was watching how he came into power. There was a documentary. And so the 12 oligarchs in Russia before Putin, one of the guys, he owned all the TV stations. So he manifested things in such a way that Putin, although a common person, seemed like a very powerful man, and he came and replaced. So what we see on TV, what we see on social media, all of that information comes and makes us the person that we are. So intelligence based on that information decides, should I wear a mask? Should I not wear a mask during coronavirus? Should I fast on Monday or should I not fast on Monday, right? Et cetera, whatever things we are doing in life. So somebody asked a question, what is the proof of past life existence? Yeah, Nidhi, as I mentioned, you can go check out Professor Ian Stevenson. You can find literally thousands and thousands of research papers. Hundreds of people have PhDs on it. So go read all those documents. So two things, hypnotic regression, and number two is the past life memories that people have, and that has been proven. So there are far more people who remember past lives but cannot prove it. But there are at least 2,000 documented cases of people who remember past lives. So those are the two proofs, and there are more. But you can just go Google Ian Stevenson and read all his research and the research done by his next 3 generations. All right, but today is not about past lives, so we're not going to get stuck there, but we'll move on to IQ. So intelligence. So it's clear, right? Mind, intelligence. So intelligence based on our knowledge database that we have, it discerns, should I listen to the mind? Should I not listen to the mind? Should I say yes or no, 1 or 0, right? And then comes the soul. What is a soul? So this is very important. This is the introduction to spiritual knowledge. In the Bhagavad Gita, Krishna starts speaking by talking about this content. He talks about that, this body is changing from childhood to youthhood to middle age to old age, and finally this body dies. But when there's a dead body lying around, what do people say? Mr. So-and-so passed away, or Mrs. So-and-so passed away. But the dead body is lying there. Who passed away? That's the conscious being, the soul that passed away from the body, right? So according to Bhagavad Gita, there is the gross body made up of earth, water, fire, air, and ether. Earth, we have, right, carbon, magnesium, calcium, all kinds of earthly metals and whatnot in our body. Of course, water, 70% water in the body. Fire, there is heat in the body, right? Air, we're breathing in, breathing out. There are 5 kinds of air according to Ayurveda. And there's ether, intermolecular space. There's space that within the body. So earth, water, fire, air, ether. That's the gross body that's made up of. Then comes the subtle body, Sukshma Deha. That is made up of mind, intelligence, and ego. And then subtler than that, so we say subconscious mind, right? So that's where mind, intelligence, ego, subconscious. Then subtler than that is us, the real us. That is the soul, the eternal, unchanging, unborn. We don't die. Krishna says, you don't die, you're never born. You're as old as time. You've always existed, you will always exist, just like God, right? So, and we move from one body to another. So the Sukshma Deha, the mind, body, the mind, intelligence, and ego, carrying the soul, moves from one body to another body. from one lifetime to another lifetime. That's how the progression happens, right? Okay. But what changes is the body. So this is what we see and we think we are changing. Why does midlife crisis happen? This is why. The body has gotten old, but the soul is still young. The soul never gets old. So you want to do certain things, but your body doesn't allow for it. Society doesn't allow you to do certain things at a certain age. So you're like this conflict between you want to do something, but the body and the mind and society, everybody's saying you cannot do it. So the Bhagavad Gita explains this very beautifully, that the soul is who you really are. And as you're changing from childhood, boyhood, adolescence, youthhood, middle age to old age and death, the soul continues through life after life. And what's the characteristic of the soul? Sat, Chit, Ananda. Eternal, it's never born and never dies, it's always existing. Cognizant, it's aware of things. And blissful, Anandamaya, it's always happy. Now we don't feel happy. So what does that mean? Because we are under the conditioning of matter. The real spiritual self does not experience things, right? So SQ is about bringing out that spiritual self so we can be conscious, far more conscious, cognizant. We can be happy and we can be eternal. We can understand the eternal principles of life. So Sat, Chit, Ananda, conscious. So we are eternal, we are conscious, and we are Ananda. We are always supposed to be happy. That's the spiritual happiness, right? But when we are in matter, we think I'm this body, I'm a man, I'm a woman, I'm rich, I'm poor, I'm ugly, I'm beautiful, all of that. And that leads to whether I'm happy or not. Today I'm looking very good, I'm very happy. Or today I'm not wearing right shoes, so I'm not happy, right? So all the external things make us unhappy. But internally, by design, we are supposed to be happy beings. So the basic difference, how do we know the soul and everything else? Artificial intelligence, like I've built companies on artificial intelligence. So what's artificial intelligence? It's basically the Siri. I tell, hey Siri, crack a joke. It'll crack a joke for me, but it doesn't feel anything. Us, we feel things, we experience things. There is cognition, there is consciousness. And that's the difference between spirit and matter. Us versus dead matter. And when the spirit conscious being leaves this body, the body is dead body. And you can take out the liver, the kidney, the eyes, everything, and plug it into somebody else. And it will work perfectly. It's like a machine. Krishna says that. Jantra rudhani maya. Jantra, it's a machine, the body. But the soul is who we are, right? I hope it's clear. Mind, intelligence, soul. Is it clear? All good? Can you say yes? Already a question. As per Bhagavad Gita, the mind acts like an enemy for those. Exactly. Uncontrolled mind, worst enemy. Controlled mind, best friend. Okay, a lot of yeses. Thank you very much. I appreciate the encouragement. Good. So now we can move on to the next phase. So in the Katha Upanishad, it is very beautifully defined how this whole thing works together. So the chariot is actually the body. The 5 horses you see the pendants that the horses are wearing, the 5 senses. The rein on the horses, that's the mind. The charioteer is intelligence. And the soul, that's us. That's who we are. So there's a soul, there's a body, the wheel, if you want to really go deep into it, the wheel is a day, one wheel is a day, one wheel is a night. You're moving towards death, right? And if the horses go in different directions, uncontrolled senses, it's chaos. The soul is scared. Oh my God, where am I going? Confusion comes, anxiety comes. I don't know where my life is going. I'm so clueless. Oh my God, what will I do? What will happen? A coronavirus, I might lose my job. I'm not getting paid right. Blah, 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 right? All of these causes chaos and anxiety. But when the mind is strongly held on by intelligence, backed by spiritual knowledge, SQ, right? Spiritual quotient strengthens the intelligence, which strengthens the mind, which controls the senses, and thus you can move forward. What happens, it looks like we're doing a lot of work. What are we here, there, distracted here and there. People say, oh, this guy works 10 hours, 20 hours a day. Yeah, sure, but where are you going? Are you progressing or you're just working, right? So when the horses are controlled, you can go forward. If they're not controlled, you're just hovering around here and there. And that's the difference between work and productive work, right? So very important to understand that distractions that the mind instantly, if you listen to your mind, you're going to be distracted. Ping, pang, phone is telling you do this, do that. Somebody's shouting out there, children are crying, all of that. You're like, oh my God, how do I prioritize? That's what happens, right? That's when you get distracted and you're not moving forward. So it's important to have focus. How do you get focus? Meditation. But again, I'm not going to talk about that today because we're going to focus on IQ, EQ, SQ. Sir, please throw some light on the contradiction between technology replacing human work in many spheres and the human livelihood problem that has started us. How will it settle down? So my last company, I built a company where we replaced 90% of the workforce, 90% of the workforce with the software. So what people would do in 7 days, my software does in 1/6 of a second, and it doesn't take any breaks, doesn't take weekends off. Now, important question to ask is, what's the 10% who couldn't be replaced? The 10% was the work that only conscious beings can do. They were relationship managers. So it was a healthcare billing company. The doctor's office does all the procedures. It goes to the billing company. The billing company looks through the errors, goes to the insurance pays the doctor. So we were automating the billing system. Hundreds of people got fired. I felt horrible that what I did led to this, right? 10% of the people that didn't get fired was people who are relationship managers. The doctors are working for the last 10, 15 years. And the doctors trust them and like, okay, if this lady is working in this company, I trust this company, fine. They don't care if the profitability has gone through the roof. What they were doing in 7 days happens in 1/6 of a second. So what it means is whatever is left-brained, automated stuff, it can be automated. The mechanistic stuff can be automated. Things that can be repeated can be automated. The right brain stuff, the Atma, the things that only a spiritual being can do, cannot be automated. Creativity, innovation, negotiation, entertainment, right? Making people laugh, cry, emote. We can do that. Machines cannot, right? That's where, if you want to be relevant in 2030, 2040, 2050, you need to be humans again. And that's the importance of SQ. EQ, IQ, sure, most of the people gone through college, especially all of you PhDs, definitely have that. But SQ will what make you relevant in the coming future when there's driverless cars, less people and more human need, because people are getting lonely. People are having a lot of technology. Press a button, food comes. Press a button, a cab comes. Press a button, you want to hook up, go right ahead. Press a button, whatever you want to do. Especially us men, we are used to mechanistic life. You press a button, you get output. So when we get married, what happens? We tell our wife, I want this. Wife says, not in the mood right now. Okay, fine, I'll go somewhere else. Divorce, right? That's what's happening. So in this mechanistic society, we don't know how to sustain a relationship. We don't know how to take care of each other. So that when those who know are surviving, you see more women CEOs are coming up today. Why? Because women are empathetic. They have higher EQ than men, right? So IQ, yeah, sure. Men, women both have. But EQ, women are by scientifically proven to have more than men. So if you can focus on that aspect of being emotional, intelligent, and spiritual human beings, then only we will have what the world needs. When we give what the world needs, people are willing to pay us for that. That's how we are going to be relevant. Does it help, Dr. Sharma? Okay, perfect. Population explodes, but how soul, it is constant number. Contradiction, sir? No contradiction. Population is expanding of human population. We are only 6 or 7 billion humans, right? How many ants are there? How many goats are there? How many cows are there? How many trees are there? How many fish are there? According to the Vedas, 8.4 million species of life, Within that, 400,000, 4 lakh species of humans alone. How many human species do we know? Blacks, whites, brown, yellow, maybe blue. The Sudanese people, they're like bluish tinge on the black. 5 or 6 species, Chinese, right? That's it. 4 lakh species. Guess what? Gandharvas, Devatas, Tapasvis, there's demons, right? So there's all kinds of species of humans. The Vedas describe all of that. 8.4 million species. And we are not just traversing in the human form. We're traversing from human to other life forms. So yes, there is soul. The soul is not only in human format. In bacteria, amoeba, coronavirus, soul, anything that's conscious is a soul, and the soul is traversing and progressing from one body to another. That's the spiritual evolution that's happening, right? So don't just look at the human population. Human population is growing, by the way, it's not constant, but soul is growing from one place to another within Bhumandala, earthly realm, and Swargaloka, Maharloka, Tapaloka, Janaloka, or Atala, Patala, Sutala, Talatala, Rasatala. 14 planetary systems, unlimited souls. We only know about this planet. There are 14 planetary systems. So I'm not going to confuse you, but the point is, there is no contradiction in the Vedas. The issue when we face contradiction is we just don't know about the Vedas. That's the thing. We don't read today. We read a lot of other books, but we don't read our own inheritance. I hope that helps. How to kill the horses? Yes. So mind control, meditation. Again, today I don't have time to cover a lot of things, but meditation is a short answer. Thank you, sir. Really makes sense. Thanks. Okay. Are EQ, SQ controllable? Of course. We'll talk about that. Okay. How to tune subconscious mind according to our wish. What you let enter your ears, eyes, nose, mouth, right? What you let enter your mind is what affects your subconscious. And a lot of things that have already entered needs to be replaced with proper understanding. So I'll get into a vivid picture. There's a whole slide where I'll explain this hopefully in a more clear way. I'll get there. Kindly define spirituality for a common man. Spirituality for a common man, very simple. Like I said, there are the gross body, there is a subtle body, Sukshma Deha, and there's a soul, that's us, the conscious being. You were, when you were a child, you felt, I am me. This is me. My body is changing. Suddenly, there is hair coming out, mustache and all that as a man. For a woman, no, other things happen. So the body is changing, but the sense of identity, the I that goes from childhood till death, that sense of I is always there. That is me. That is spirituality. That is the spiritual person. So what is that? That soul, that conscious being is part of the supreme soul. Krishna says, Aham Bija Prada Pitaha. I am the seed-giving father. Mamai Vamsa Jivaloki Jiva Bhuta Sanatana. You're my fragmental. He is supremely spiritual being, supreme. Just like in a bonfire, you'll see there's a massive fire and then small sparks come out of the fire. So the massive fire is Krishna and we are small sparks of Krishna, of God, right? So that's spirituality. When we understand that, we act in our nature as a spiritual being in connection with God, in serving humanity. And that's the whole purpose of this. We'll end there today. No control of the horses. I recite Harinam and with faith, and I'm under his surveillance, and hence controlled by action, giving fruits unto him. Wonderful, Nikhil. That's great. Perhaps realization of morality and spirituality. Morality is mental, but spirituality is higher than that, right? Wonderful question. And that's the beauty of all of you PhDs, right? You're brilliantly intelligent. So I'm so happy. All the beautiful questions. So let me continue. A lot of your questions will become clear. Okay. All right. So EQ comes from the mind, right? Relates to the mind, IQ, intelligence, and SQ is the connecting with the soul. So far, this part I'm hoping is clear. Now, this is a slide I was talking about. So we, the soul, is looking at the world through filters of the mind. So for example, let's say if one thinks I'm a man, I'm going to look at the world from the man's vantage point. If I'm thinking I'm rich, I'll look at the world from a rich vantage point. If I'm thinking I'm wise, right, I'm a professor, I know a lot of physics, chemistry, mathematics, philosophy, this, that. I will look at the world that way. And that's how we see the world. So the soul is seeing, but it's filtered by the mind. The reality might or might not be visible. So for example, a chauvinistic male might think all women are weak, or all women are unintelligent. That's a chauvinistic idea, because one might be coming from that background where they have heard that, right? So even though that is not true, on the spiritual level, men and women are equal, right? I'm not saying it. There is no such thing. We are all Prakriti. So Krishna says, in the spiritual level, we are all equal. We are all soul, right? Today I'm a man, next life I could be a woman. And last life I could have been a woman. Who cares? The point is, we're all spiritually equal. But one sees it through the lens and sees, okay, these are Dalits, these are whatever, other religion, other things. So according to the lens that we wear, we see the world, which might or might not be true. In most cases, not very true. And this is called Maya, that which is not. Maya, you've heard of Maya, right? So reality versus illusion. Maya, that which is not. So as we see the world through the lenses of the mind, we take action and reaction, which is called karma. So we do our karma, right? Action, we do something, we get something back. We don't pay the taxes, we get penalized. We slap someone, we get slapped back. Or sometimes the results come a lot later. It might not come in this lifetime. It might come in future lifetimes, right? Some things are slow. Like, for example, somebody steals money from a bank. They might even take 6 months for the cops to find the guy, but they'll eventually find it and justice will be served. And you might say, well, a lot of cases they're not found. Sure, but there's a higher justice system. Karmic justice will be served no matter what, whether the police can catch you or not, right? So that's the thing. We see the world through the filter of the mind and take action, reaction, and thus we get more of these conceptions, filters of the mind as we grow old, right? And accordingly, we keep seeing the world. This is where EQ, IQ comes in, right? We might be enriched with knowledge, we might be enriched with intelligence and all of that. But without SQ, without spiritual quotient, we are just living through action, reaction, action, reaction, action, reaction, and wondering, why am I not happy? I've gotten my degree, I've gotten a good job, I have the car and the house and whatever people dream of, I have that, but I'm still not happy. What is the problem, right? And the problem is that it's a fish out of water. You take a fish out of water and put it in a nice little Mercedes car, give it ice cream to consume. Will the fish be happy? No. The fish wants water. It just simply wants to be in water. So we are Atma, and we are happy in our connection with Paramatma. That's called yoga. Connect, yoga, right? To connect. So Bhakti Yoga, Gyan Yoga, Ashtanga Yoga, Karma Yoga, right? Different forms of yoga are there. But the point is to connect with the Supreme Father, our Creator. That's what gives us happiness. So we might be looking for happiness in knowledge, in sense gratification, in many things that are dealing with the mind and the body. EQ, IQ, good. We are all, intelligent people with a high EQ and succeeding so-called in life. But still there is a gap in the heart and we feel something is missing. And that something is our connection with our Father, our Creator, right? Just like when we eat something nice, we want to share with our family. Before marriage, we want to share with our parents. After marriage, we want to share with our kids, right? Similarly, that feeling of connecting with the Supreme Father, that is what is the missing link. That's the gap which we feel. So you can be successful with the combination of IQ and EQ. High intelligence, so you know how to analyze things, and high EQ, how to deal with people and whatnot and get your corporate ladder, get your promotion, convince people, sell things, negotiate and all of that. But SQ is what gives you real happiness. I know there's a lot of questions coming. I will answer them, but let me just go through some of the slides. And I think a lot of your questions will be answered. So IQ is what you see and think about things, how you're analyzing things, intelligence quotient, right? Then comes emotional quotient, how you feel about yourself and around you, the feeling aspect. And it's not just about how you feel, but also understanding how other people feel, empathy, right? Sometimes we are like, okay, I want this, I want that promotion. And generally you have to think about, what does my boss want, right? From his side, what does he want? And if I can speak his language, then I can get my promotion, right? Love language. It's a very beautiful concept of love language. You can read up on the 5 love languages. So what happens between a couple? Husband's love language is, let's say, chores that I want to, or gifts, right? I want to give you a gift. And that's how I express my love for you. Wife likes quality time with the husband. So wife is saying, my husband is never home. And he brings in this expensive saris and bangles and jewelry and whatnot. I don't care about that. I want him to spend time with me, right? Husband is saying, I'm giving so many gifts. She's never happy. Wife is like, my husband just gives gifts. He never gives time. I'm never happy, right? So both of you are expressing your love in a different way, but languages are different. and there's no connection. So EQ deals with not only understanding yourself, but understanding how the other person feels and thinking and feeling and willing from their vantage point. When you understand yourself and how the other person feels, you can negotiate, you can sell, you can do job interviews successfully, you can pretty much do anything. You can get what you want in life, right? Because you have figured out how to deal with the human psychology, the human mind. But still, SQ is something comes from SQ. Why you live your life the way you do. All of you might be professors, but some of you might be very good singers, very good cooks, very good whatever else, right? And during this lockdown, I'm sure you have come like, okay, finally I get to do what I'm passionate about, right? I have time finally. I'm at home with my family and I can do the things I love. So why you do what you do comes from SQ. And that's the happiness factor. So Harvard University did a 80-year happiness research. And they came to the same conclusion that the Vedas told us 5,000 years ago. That's basically that human beings find happiness when they have meaningful relationship with other conscious beings. So other human beings, or having a pet as a dog or a cow or a horse or whatever else, right? But connecting with other conscious beings in a meaningful way leads to happy lives. And that's where it all comes. We are stuck to our phones. Why? Because on the other side of the phone, there's a conscious being that we're connecting with. That gives us happiness. All the likes we're getting, if the likes were all automated, we wouldn't be so excited. But why do we like the likes? Because somebody who's a feeling, conscious person, choosing to like me, choosing to appreciate me, that makes me happy. So, but the ultimate happiness comes when the Atma connects with Paramatma. That's that yoga, that's the real happiness. And that happiness, unless it's explained, it cannot be explained through words. I can tell you all about it and you'll be like, interesting. But unless you experience it, no matter words cannot explain it. So that's real happiness. Rest of it is basically a semblance of the real happiness, a simulation of the real happiness. Boy-girl love or mother-child love. It says that closest to divine love is that of a mother's love for a child. But that's the closest. But it's far more the love between the divine and us. Okay. So important to understand from this context, now that we understand IQ, EQ, SQ, what, how, why. So IQ defines, that's why I put it in yellow. IQ defines what, right? We're dealing with what, how things work, the how to make those things work, EQ. And why are we doing what we're doing? Why do I choose to be a professor? Why do I choose to be an entrepreneur? Why do I choose to be a atheist? Why do I choose to be a spiritualist? All of that is the spiritual quotient. And our identity. So things, more than things, is us and others, and our identity is the most important thing. Based on our identity, how we see the world, how we see ourselves is how we see the world. If we have a very negative feeling about ourselves, we feel negative about the world. If we are lying all the time, we cannot trust anyone because we think the whole world is lying. So how we see ourselves is how we see the world. So it's very, very important how we define ourselves. And it's very beautiful in Bhagavad Gita. Krishna really helps us define who we really are. That's why he really focuses on Arjuna. Why are you being so confused? You're not this body, you're spirit soul. You're part of me and you never die. All the army over here, 600 million people in that battlefield of Kurukshetra. It's still there in Haryana today, right? Kurukshetra, right? So 600 million people there, 300 million on each side. Krishna's like, their body's going to die, but they're all going to live on. So don't worry, Arjun. Just do your duty. Right the wrong. A woman was stripped naked, right? Or tried to be stripped naked. They couldn't strip Draupadi, but that was adharma. And that was breaking the religious principle. All those people sitting there, from Bhishma to Dhritarashtra, all of these guys, they didn't do anything. So inaction is also action. It's a choice. They didn't protest when Draupadi was being insulted. And the Vedic system, we really take serious offense when women are disrespect in society. right? Today we see so many rape cases happening and whatnot, because we have decimated the Vedic system. That's why. People don't have, as growing up adults, we're not taught anything from the Vedas. How can we respect women? We see women as object of sense gratification, nothing else. Just, literally objects. And objectification happens all over the internet, all over the news, billboards, everywhere you see, whether you're selling a car or a toothpaste, it's a half, scantily clad woman, right? That's what we are taught subconsciously and consciously. So respect is not there, but the whole battle of Kurukshetra happened because one woman was insulted, right? So very important to understand the richness of Vedic tradition. People think Vedas are chauvinistic, Hinduism teaches this, Sati Pratha and all that. All misconceptions, all misunderstandings, right? All British-driven misunderstandings given to us. So your identity forms your worldview, how you treat others, how you treat animals, how you treat other people, your parents, your wife, your kids, all of that is defined by how you think about yourself. So SQ is not a score. IQ and EQ, there are scores for IQ and EQ. But SQ, spiritual quotient, is a continuum, and it's a continuum to infinity, because spirituality has no limit, right? As you can see in this, we are confused with ignorance, without knowing the philosophy, without knowledge. What happens? When a child has no knowledge, what does the child do? Shoe goes in the mouth, phone goes in the mouth, gulab jamun goes in the mouth. And then it realizes, no, gulab jamun is food, shoe and phone should not go in the mouth. And it grows up. So without knowledge, that's how we gain knowledge. Achha, shoe tastes bad, but gulab jamun is sweet. I like gulab jamuns. So similarly, as we grow through life, we realize through for us, certain things are not. When we read the Bhagavad Gita, they understand about what really is temporarily good, what is permanently good, what is good for the long term, what is good for the short term, but hurts us in the long term, right? So good has its nuances, has its levels. So that's what we understand from the Vedic knowledge. And when we understand, when we have that SQ, there is no limit to how much we can perfect ourselves. There is no point in time you'll ever see, I'm perfect, no more growth. No, you're always growing. Anandam buddhi vardhanam. Ambudhi means ocean. Ocean of happiness. Ananda, ambudhi, vardhanam. Infinitely growing. So your happiness has a potency to infinitely grow, time immemorial. That's our spiritual continuum. That is our SQ. Okay, I'm going to pause and see how many, lot of questions. Wow. Okay. Can we think of SQ without proper mind? That's why we need to spiritualize our minds, right? And intelligence. But the eagerness has to be there, because SQ is natural to the soul. So if the eagerness is there, something that makes us question things. Why is there injustice? Why are people suffering? Why is there, so many innocent people dying? When we ask questions, Krishna says, Dadami buddhi yogam tam yenamam upantite, which means I give you the intelligence by which you can find the answers. So all of you are PhDs, so you have done your research, right? You've put your microscope and whatnot, and you found something and like, aha, I got the answer. Same thing with life, right? So you put your intelligence to work, you have the eagerness, you put your intelligence to work, you discern this and that, and you come to a conclusion. Challenge yourself. That's why purification is important. Very good question. So can the mind, if it is that of a dullard, tamasic mind, right? Person who's taking drugs all day long. You try telling them about Bhagavad Gita. What are they going to do? They're going to slap you right on the face. Like, go, what nonsense are you speaking? Get out of here. You don't go to speak Bhagavad Gita in a bar or in a place where people are taking drugs. You speak Bhagavad Gita to those who are ready for it. So yes, the mind has to be readied for it. So we uplift ourselves from tamasic to rajasic to sattvic. And once we are in sattvic, then we can transcend that to Shuddha Sattva, or transcendence, or spirituality, right? So it's a continuum from tamasic, rajasic, so ignorance, passion, and then there is goodness, and there is pure goodness. And we'll get into that. To defeat Maya, we have to go to the refugee of someone stronger than it. And that is the Supreme Person of Godhead. You can say that. But there's also Guru. Importance of Guru and a teacher, and all of you are gurus, right? All of you are teachers. So we could all learn on our own. No, we have to go to a college, we have to learn from your teachers, professors, and that's how we learn. So similarly in spiritual life, why do we think we don't need a teacher? Of course, we all need a guru, somebody who knows more than us, who can guide us through the process and take us to the right conclusions. happiness is relevant to materialistic fulfillment of oneself, but Anand, called as ultimate happiness, is the real one. Okay, that's a comment. Anjali Agarwal is saying, sir, very informative session going on. Can you please guide how we can control disturbing thoughts come in our mind sometimes? Okay, since you're the third person asking this question, I'll just pause for a second and deviate. So mind is like a child. If you tell a child, hey, don't do it, for a few seconds, the child will be like, okay, I will not touch that. And then again, the child will do it because it finds it's a game. When I get attention, when I not listen to my parents. So you have to give the child some boundaries that, you know what, if you do this, then no video games for you. If you do this, then mama will be upset, or certain things. So similarly with the mind, you have to train the mind. One is meditation. That means be in the present. So I do mantra meditation. So when I'm meditating, I tell my mind, hey mind, whole day is yours. These few minutes, let me be with Krishna's holy name. I chant Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. I chant on the sound vibration. I'm with the sound in the present. And that way, for the last 15 years, I've been training my mind to be in the present. Guess what? When I look at a legal contract for my business, what somebody will take 6 hours, I can do it in 2 hours. Because my mind has been trained, when I want to focus, I can focus. Nothing can distract me. Versus a common person, every little ping and pang will distract us, right? So it takes time to train the mind, like you train a child. You train the mind, like, no mind, you're not going to win. I'm going to tell you what to do. Who's the I? The Atma, the self. So you train the mind slowly, every day, 10 minutes meditation. Mind will be like, today I missed, so weekend we'll do 2 hours, okay? No. Every day, 10 minutes. Not like one day 0, another day an hour. And so mind will always try to deviate you. You will have to be the boss. Like, mind, I am the boss. This is my body and I get to tell you what we do. So that way you're training the mind through meditation, through self-hypnosis, and slowly you will have control over your life, right? Because that's the process. We don't spend time on meditation. That's why what happens is, wherever the senses take us, we go there. Today I feel like doing this, today I feel like doing that. Or fear. We're driven by fear. Oh, if I don't go to work, my boss will fire me, or I will not get my salary. So I should go to work. So it's either fear or it's the senses. We are not in control. In spiritual person, we are driven by love, not fear. So it's not, the fear is not my boss is giving me money. The understanding is Krishna is providing for me. No matter, that doesn't mean you become intelligent. It doesn't mean you become, you don't do your work properly. That's not what I'm saying. Please don't get me wrong. What I'm trying to say is, you're not fearful. You cannot be exploited by your boss. Your boss cannot tell you work for 12 hours or else you're not getting that promotion. No. If it's in your karma, you will get that promotion. If not in your karma, even if you work 40 hours, 80 hours a week, you will not get that promotion, right? So when you understand Bhagavad Gita, nobody can twist your arm. Nobody can exploit you. Nobody can blackmail you. So important is you take control of your life, not the mind, not your boss, not your husband or wife, not somebody else, but you have to be in charge. And that takes training. You need to train to be the boss and train the mind, and then the senses, and then everybody else also will follow suit. I hope that answers your question. That's for another session. If you want a meditation workshop, you can, I'll give you at the end some information. You can come to me and we can do a session together. All right. SQ gives a meaning to life, an ultimate goal. Yes. Love the Lord, your God with all your heart. Okay, fantastic. Can we make all these distinctions without language or expression? Of course. Expression. Well, without language, well, there's different languages, but without language, I'm not sure how you would explain, unless you're really spiritually elevated, where, so for example, certain people can do that, but in Kali Yuga, there are not too many people like that. So for the rest of us, language is a need. Why do we always compare happiness based on someone else's? Exactly. It doesn't have to be. It's happiness inside. The soul, Sat Chit Ananda. That's where the happiness really lies. We're looking for happiness. I need the nice phone, the nice house and whatever else, right? And phone doesn't give you happiness. Phone becomes slow. The house becomes old. The body of the opposite gender that we were attracted to is no more the same good-looking body. All the material things eventually dwindle and die. So where is the real happiness? Our connection with our Supreme, with our Creator. That's the real happiness. Satchidananda. Yoga, right? Connecting Atma with Paramatma, happiness, Ananda. And based on that, connecting with other people. So if I'm serving humanity with the understanding that, you know what, everybody is part of God. So everybody is my brother and sister, regardless of religion, skill, color, geographical location, doesn't matter. If you're part of God, so you're my brother and sister, right? So if you see that way, when we are doing seva, when we are serving humanity, feeding the poor, giving charity, giving knowledge, you guys are doing the highest charity possible. You're giving knowledge to people, right? So that can be done as a service to God. And that again gives us extreme happiness when it's done as a service to God versus another thing I have to do. Oh God, another class I have to teach, right? I'm so sick and tired of this. Versus I'm transforming lives. I'm doing it as a duty for higher purpose. Arjun was killing as a service to God because he's a Kshatriya. What's Kshatriya? One who protects from harm. So Arjun is holding up dharma, protecting dharma from adharmic activities, right? So he is protecting, that's what Kshatriyas do. So it's killing adharmic folks, right? As a service to God. So whatever our nature is, our occupation is, in that occupation we have to find how we can serve God. Our SQ, that is what gives us happiness, fulfillment rather. We can have SQ without EQ. Yeah, SQ deals with the soul. Even if your IQ is low, EQ is low, doesn't matter. SQ is not dependent on those things because your mind and IQ, these are all material. Soul is spiritual, completely different phenomena. So yes, SQ can be there regardless of what your IQ score is or EQ score is. You don't have to have a PhD to be spiritual. Dr. Prakash Singh is asking, lies quotient, living quotient, how we look at our life. The approach of living life, intelligence, emotional, spiritual. Okay, this is your way of looking at it. Fine. Real excellent information. Thank you very much. Spirituality has no religion, right? But Gita is Hindu based. No, you find me one word Hindu in Gita. You find me one word Hindu in any of our Vedic literatures, right? Find me one word Hindu anywhere, nowhere it's found. Dharma, according to the Vedic understanding, is intrinsic nature of. It's not religion, it's intrinsic nature of. So intrinsic nature of chili is hot. Intrinsic nature of pepper is to be, intrinsic nature of water is to be liquid. Intrinsic nature of the soul is to love and be loved. That's why we see all the Bollywood songs, always about love, 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 right? We're all looking for love. Love in various flavors. Love for the child, love for animals, love for Mother Planet, love for our parents, but love, love, love. That's who we are, right? To love and be loved. That's the nature of the soul. That's dharma. That's Sanatan Dharma. So the Vedic system doesn't talk about Hinduism. It says Sanatan Dharma, eternal, intrinsic nature of the soul, right? So religion is an English word which can be loosely translated to dharma, but it's not. So spirituality, religion, it's more of an Abrahamic thing. Our Vedic system is about Sanatan Dharma. That means regardless you're Christian, Muslim, Buddhist, whoever you are, the nature of your soul is to love and be loved, whether you like it or not. You are a Sanatan Dharmi by default. So Bhagavad Gita applies to an African, to a Chinese, to an Indian, to whoever you are, to a Muslim, Hindu, Buddhist, Christian, whoever you are. Atheist, doesn't matter. These are principles. These are not rituals, right? Compassion, kindness, anger, lust, greed, envy. All of us, we have that. So it's important to understand what Bhagavad Gita or what Vedic system gives us is not sectarian. It is not for brown-skinned people born in India. It's for everyone, all conscious beings, right? All human beings. Conscious beings, but human beings can understand. Animals cannot. Wow. Okay, let's see how much time I have. All right, I have another hour. Good. Wonderful presentation. Thank you, sir. Most welcome. Happiness is subjective. How one process assess his or her emotion is also important. So are you asking how to assess happiness? Of course. So how do you assess hunger? When you eat, you feel satisfied, nourished, fulfilled, right? I don't have to tell you, hey, sir, you've eaten a lot. You should stop eating. No, you know when to stop. You're satisfied. I'm like, enough is enough. I love pizza, but I cannot have another slice of pizza. I am fully satisfied, right? So you know. When you're happy, you know. You don't have to be told. You don't have to assess it. Like I said, SQ does not have a score. It's a continuum. So when you're happy, when you're connected to God, it's happiness. Just enjoy it. Why do you have to give a number to it, right? Why do you have to score it? Just enjoy it. That this is it. This is where, and it's only going to grow. Anandam buddhivardhanam. Ocean of happiness that's going to grow and grow and grow infinitely. Chilukuru Bala Venkata is saying, there are people who say a strict no to religion, but find spirituality more relevant. Are they different really? Like I already explained that. I hope that's clear. All know about Atma and Paramatma, the bonding through the meditation and spiritual happiness through good karma, etc. Why so many religious gurus tell about diverse ways? See, it's become a marketplace. You all are PhDs, right? You talk about your subject matter that you're experts in, and you've gotten your PhD from a authentic university. There are people who talk about the same thing on YouTube, and they have no PhD, they don't have authenticity, and they just talk about quantum mechanics and this and that and all bullshit, right? I would not talk about that. That's not my area of expertise. I would talk about Bhagavad Gita because that's what I know, right? So what happens is, in the name of religion, there's a lot of inauthentic people who have a little bit of beard and wear funny clothes, and they start talking about religion. And how do we define them? So in the Bhagavad Gita, Krishna gives in chapter 4, he says, Evam parampara praptam, right? Who are authorized? Those who have come in the Guru Shishya parampara. I have spoken this to Lord Brahma. Lord Brahma spoke this to Narad Muni. Narad Muni has spoken this to, Vyasdev. Vyasdev has written it down before Kali Yuga. In the written format today, we have the Vedas. Vedas used to be audible, only hearing, through the hearing process. Shruti. Now it is in written form thanks to Vyasdev. So who has Vyasdev gotten this from? From Narad Muni, who got from Brahma, who got from Lord Krishna, right? So Krishna says that. So evam parampara praptam. So today I'm speaking from Brahma Madhava Gaudiya Sampradaya. So it's coming from Lord Brahma, Madhvacharya, and the Gaudiya Sampradaya that comes through. That's where I am speaking from. So I am speaking from authenticity. It's a bona fide Guru Shishya Parampara that you're receiving this knowledge from. So when you meet anybody on the TV or whatever who calls himself a guru, ask them, do you have a guru? Does he have a guru? Or she have a guru? And does this go back to all the way to Lord Krishna? Doesn't, then no one has a right to speculate and just come up with their own conclusions. Just like you wouldn't want somebody teaching at your university who speculates and come up with physics or chemistry conclusions. Speculation doesn't work. You have to get authenticity. And that is Krishna gives in Bhagavad Gita, Evam parampara praptam. I have created this parampara. Those who are in this parampara are bona fide to speak about this topic. Those who are not in this parampara are dharma dhvajis. That means they carry the flag of religion and they speak flowery language of the Vedas. But they belong in Andha Tamas, the darkest region of hell, because they're misleading sincere seekers. Krishna says that. I'm not saying it, right? He's saying they go to hell, basically, for misleading people who are sincere seekers. So a lot of fake gurus out there. But as a sincere student, we need to ask, where is your knowledge coming from? Who is your guru and who's that person's guru and where does that parampara come from? And whatever I speak today, you can ask me where I'm speaking from. I'll be able to tell you which verse, which book, which Vedic knowledge this knowledge is coming from. If somebody's not able to tell you that, then that means their words doesn't have to be taken seriously. So that's how you validate it. It's very scientific. The Vedic system, very scientific. So receive your knowledge from those who speak from scriptures, unchanged, uninterpreted, right? Those who speculate, stay away from them. And you guys know it better than I. I mean, of course, you've gone through peer review. You've gone through so much to get your PhDs. Okay. Where does compassion come? Passion of the soul manifests through the emotions and activates through the senses. The compassion is that of the soul. So all the qualities are there in the soul. Like I said, the soul is seeing. And they're the filters of the mind. And it gets filtered and it comes out. So the soul has all these qualities, compassion, love, gratitude, all of that. But how we express that, filters of the mind, and then the senses, and then we act it out. Daniel Rubaraj, I'm sorry. What your opinion about Sadhguru and his teachings? Who am I to pass opinions about the people? As long as I don't know who his guru is, so I don't know. I cannot comment on anyone. I don't want to judge anyone. But the point is, as long as he has a guru and who has a guru and they're in a parampara and they're speaking from scriptures, then it's bona fide. If they're not speaking from scriptures, then it's not bona fide. Sadhguru is a wonderful speaker, but I have noticed sometimes he speaks something that is deviant from the Bhagavad Gita, right? He's made a huge Shiva statue, but then he says, don't worship God. So I find contradictions. But again, I'm not judging anyone. Point is not to make anybody look bad or good, but focus on where is the real knowledge. And that is the focus, where we can get that from. Okay. Is karma is predestined, and why should we study, learn, work? No, karma is not predestined. We are making our own karma as we go along, right? For example, if I work at the gym today, right, I'm going to have muscles and my chest is going to swell up. I'm going to be a more attractive looking person, right? I'm drinking water. If I don't drink water, I'll faint. So every moment we are acting and we're creating our future, creating our destiny. Every moment we have choices. This time, today is a Monday. You have the choice to be here listening to this, or choice to watch Netflix. You made a choice to be here. So we, within our limited capacity, within our karmic bank account, we have been given certain choices. We make those choices, and that defines what our future looks like. We study hard, we work hard. Sometimes we get a good job, sometimes we don't. So not everything is in our control. But we should understand that not always good things happen to good people. Bad things happen to good people and good things happen to bad people. Why? Because karma is very complicated. It's not just this life, it's also past lives into account. And what is acting when, we don't know. But the important part is, it is us who are creating our future, our destiny. Does Krishna know past, present, future? Yes. As a loving father, he knows past, present, future because he's God. And we cannot understand how God thinks. But the point is, we are creating our own destiny as we act and make choices through our lives. Hierarchy of gurus, yes. What is the purpose of my life? That you have to find Dr. Krishna. What is the purpose of your life? We all have our own purposes and we define it. So we understand, based on your understanding of the scriptures, your spiritual understanding, you have to, Krishna will help you realize what purpose you have in your life. But at least we should have one purpose. One of the purposes should be to understand our creator, understand who we really are, and come to that conclusion, connect with that. So the Sambandha Abhidheya Prayojana Gyan that I was talking about, that I'm supposed to talk about in a few slides later, that's what it is. Sambandha Gyan means Sambandha, which means to connect with what is around us. So Sambandha Gyan, that means me, so living entity, there is karma, there is prakriti, there is time, there is other living entities, there is God. So that's my relationship with all that around me. That's Sambandha Gyan. Prayojana Gyan is, what is the goal of all this? So goal is to get liberation, to reach our ultimate destination. What does that look like? So knowledge about Vaikuntha, knowledge about the spiritual world. And how do we get there? That is Abhideya. That is studying the Bhagavad Gita, studying the scriptures, understanding that, applying it in our lives, having a God-conscious life, right? That is Abhideya. So like GPS location, current location, destination, how to get there. Sambandha Gyan, Abhideya Gyan, Prayojana Gyan, right? So that's how it works. So you have to be in the process to know what's the purpose of your life. Bhutan is the only nation which considers happiness to measure the national economy, whereas the rest of the world uses economical parameters. What lesson the world must take from this nation? I'm too insignificant to even talk about this topic, what the world must care. I mean, who cares about what I think, right? But yes, Bhutan definitely has focus on the right thing. They care about simple living, high thinking, happy people, And I think that's wherever we see that. I know whenever I go to Uttarakhand today, UPS is actually organizing this event, and it's so nice and serene to be in the mountains and the bristling air. It's so clean, away from all the pollution. So it's always nice to focus on that. But can we do that? We have screwed ourselves up in Kali Yuga so much that it's not possible to bring in the Vedic paradigm. But within that situation, we have to do the best we can do, right? And that's what my presentation today is about, that with where we are, right? I am not a yogi sitting there in a cave in a mountain. I am a guy who's an entrepreneur running companies. I'm a CEO. I do TV shows. I do all kinds of things. But within that, I'm finding my way of sharing the Vedic knowledge because I am happy and I want others to be happy. So yes, Bhutan has found its own way. India has found its own way, or not maybe looking at it at all, or maybe it is, I don't know. But at least this initiative by the AICTE is a tremendous. I've never seen other governments do this before. When we're talking about life in general, we don't talk about that. Colleges, professors, we're all about skill. What about qualities? What about being a human being? What about morality? Thank God, this government is thinking about that. And I'm not from any political party, don't get me wrong. All I'm saying is I'm appreciating that this is even happening and the government is encouraging that, right? So we are also finding our own path, and different countries should follow suit. Otherwise, we're going to be very, very economically up there, but very unhappy and committing suicides. Like this year alone, we have seen so many very well-known people who are apparently, whatever people think our happiness is, rich, popular, good-looking, all of that, and they're killing themselves, right? So it's not working, clearly. Something is missing. That SQ has to be instilled in people. And earlier, the better. Where do you position our parents in the process of acquiring knowledge and all these IQ, EQ, SQ? Parents are the first guru. They teach us how to brush our teeth, how to go to the bathroom, ABCD, 1, 2, 3, 4. If we have spiritual parents, very fortunate, they can teach us about spirituality. But in most cases, what happens is it's spirituality mixed with tradition, superstition, and dogmatism. And that leads to confusion. So we grow up, I don't believe all this. Indian, Hinduism is all about this and that. It's all superstition. Why? Because I heard from grandmother, grandfather, parents, don't put right foot forward, right hand, left hand, Friday, this, that. Why? I don't know. My father used to do it. You should do it too. So parents a lot of times don't explain things because they don't know. And it's dogmatism. So modern day people want answers. Young people want to know, why am I doing? What am I doing? And that's where people like me come in, who are really explaining to the younger generation why you have to do what you have to do, how to become happy, why morality, why truthfulness, why honesty, why respect, right? And some parents are doing it, some parents are not doing it. And that's where they lie. I'm not judging anyone. But parents are the first guru. And regardless of what they give us, they've given us life, which allows us to explore everything else we are doing. So we should always respect our parents. That's the default. We should serve our parents. We should love our parents. They're human beings. They have their faults. They have their godliness, all of that. So we're not judging parents, but they have their role to play. But we have our role to play as individuals and find out the truth in our own way. How can we secure our place to Vaikuntha by living in this world? So Krishna says, at the time of death, whatever you think is what you attain. Yam yam vapi smaran bhavan tyajate ante kalevaram. Ante, at the end of this kalevar, body, tyajate, when you're leaving this body, tam evayati kantiya sadat sadbhava bhavitaha. Whatever you're thinking at the time of death is what you will attain at the after death. So if you're thinking about your ex-girlfriend, you're going to be probably born as a cockroach in her house or something. I'm joking. What I'm trying to say here is, whatever you think at the time of death is what you attain, right? So if we have a practice of being in God consciousness, then when something bad happens, we'll be like, Krishna, help, right? Or whatever, the name of God that we have in our religion. People are from different religions here. It can be whatever the name is, but the point is that thought. So at the time of death, if the thought is that of God, then we go to Vaikuntha. If the thought is something else, we're attached to something else, right? So then that's where we are born. A lot of times actually in reincarnation, hypnotic regression, it is found that the grandfather is born as a grandchild because they're attached to the child, right? So they're born as the child of their own child. The time of death, they're thinking, oh, mera bete ka kya hoga? Oh, what will happen to my child? And all that. And so they're born in the same family a lot of times. So whatever you think of at the time of death defines where you go. So if you can engineer it, your thought process, control your thoughts, and be in a sattvic, God-conscious lifestyle, then that's what you will think at the time of death. And that's what kind of guarantees it. Don't worry, Krishna is not cruel. It's not a test. Let's see if you can do it or not. If you're sincere, Krishna says in Bhagavatam that he will inject himself into your consciousness. Now, some of you PhDs are thinking, oh, what about coma, right? When you're in a comatose situation. So Krishna says, I will inject myself into your consciousness, even if you're not able to think. I will inject myself because you've lived a life where your intention is to remember me. So I will inject myself in your consciousness. So I'll forcefully remind you of me so you can come back to me. So the work is done. If we show sincerity, right? Krishna is taking care of everything. Swalpam hi dharmasya. Swalpam. Alpa means less. Swalpa means very less. Swalpam api asya hi dharmasya trayato mahate bhayat. That even if you take small step in this path of dharma, not religion, dharma, right? I explain what dharma is. Trayato mahate bhayam. You are relieved from the greatest of fear. And what is that fear? It is defined as a fear of what happens after death. We think death is the biggest fear, right? When death comes knocking on your door, the fear is, oh my God, where am I going? And I was a child, I used to have asthma. And many times I would shut down, my eyes would become dark and everything. And I could see my brain is shutting down. My parents looking at me, completely helpless. And I still remember my fear was, oh my God, where am I going? Will my parents be there with me? That is the fear on the deathbed when a person is dying. And Krishna says, Swalpam hi asya dharmasya trayato mahate bhayam. Trayato means you overcome that fear. Mahato bhayat, great fear. If you take even a smallest step in this direction, because your sincerity, seeing that Krishna will help you. So don't worry. The most powerful person is there to help you. Your intention is important. Just start walking on the path. Rest, Krishna will take care. Okay, I have a lot of slides to take care of and a lot of questions are coming in. It's wonderful. It's so interactive. I love it. But I'll keep going. So let's talk about mantra for a second. What is mantra? Manaha trayate iti mantra. So trayate means, again, overcome. So to release the mind or to overcome the mind, mantra is very, very important. So we have Gayatri mantra. We have the Hare Krishna Maha mantra. We have all kinds of mantras. And mantras have power. If you see the Mahabharata, the Ramayana, you see that they're chanting mantra and they're manifesting weapons. And the weapons of the mind, with that they're killing. If you look at even Ravan, Ravan, when he abducted Sita Devi, he's actually in Pushpaka Viman, which he's driving with his mind. Jatayu attacks. He's holding on to Sita with one hand, fighting with Jatayu with another hand, and with his mind, he's actually controlling Pushpaka Viman. So even back in the days, they had mind-controlled spaceships, right? So what I'm trying to say here is, mantra is very powerful. Manaha trayate iti mantra. So what mantra we chant, that can actually have a very important aspect on our SQ. So just like somebody asked, how to prepare the mind to receive this knowledge. So mantra is very much important. It helps us overcome the influence of the three modes of material nature, which is sattvic, rajasic, tamasic. Goodness, passion, ignorance. Let's understand this for a second. What influences the mind to act in the way? So you see these ladies, like we are acting and we think this is our mind working, but we are being influenced by Maya. Maya comes in these three forms: sattvic, rajasic, tamasic, right? So goodness, which is about knowledge and happiness and balance and things in life that are related to goodness. So food we eat, so sattvic food, not too spicy, not intoxicating, right? Sattvic ahar. Tamasic, rajasic is passionate, so it's driven, selfish, fulfillment. So a lot of work related stuff, like I want that promotion, I want to make sure everybody else loses, I win. And there's ignorance, harmful to oneself and harmful to others. So we look at it, maintenance is goodness, creation happens through passion, and destruction happens through ignorance. So maintenance by Vishnu, creation by Brahma, destruction by Lord Shiva, like that. Or if you look at your day, 8 hours goodness. So morning time we do meditation, puja, worship and all. Passion, 8 hours of work. We are working very hard, energetic and everything. And 8 hours of tamasic. It gets nighttime and we sleep, we rest. Some people feel the urge to do other things which might be in the tamasic, tamaguna, right? So the time of the day, the nature, all of this is modes of nature. Even people, and being a CEO since I was a teenager, I've been a CEO. And when I look at someone in a job interview, I'm able to look at them from that vantage point, because it's a percentage, right, of a combination of Rajasic, Sattvic and Tamasic. And accordingly, I know this person is either Brahmanical in nature or Kshatriya in nature or Vaishya in nature or Shudra in nature. This is not by birth. This is actually the combination of these influences that give us the kind of work we do. And that's where job satisfaction comes in. So all of you professors are actually Brahmanical by nature, regardless of where you're born. Krishna says, Chatur Varnam, Maya Srishtam, Guna Karma Vibhagasa. Chatur Varnam, Brahmana, Kshatriya, Vaishya, Shudra. Maya Srishtam, I have created this. Guna Karma Vibhagasa. It's based on your guna, your qualities, and your karma, your activities. So in America, I was giving this speech on caste system in America, because they always say, oh, India is all about caste system. I'm like, no. Caste system is worldwide. But it is not by birth. It is divine caste system made by God. And so just like in our world, we have the professors, the scientists, the brahmanas. You guys are the heads, you're the intellectual class. The Kshatriyas, the protectors, they're the administrators, the politicians, the police, the army, they're the Kshatriya class. Then there's the mercantile class, the business class, the Vaishyas, right? And then there's the Shudra class, people who work physical labor, or the entertainers, Bollywood, right? The musicians, they're the Shudra class. So Brahmana, Kshatriya, Vaishya, Shudra. This is not by birth. This is by the influence on the modes of nature, Sattvic, Rajasic, Tamasic, combination of the three. So Brahmanas are mostly Sattvic, right? Because pursuit of knowledge is considered Sattvic. So Kshatriyas, Sattvic, Rajasic combination. Then comes the Vaishyas, their Rajasic, Tamasic combination. And the Shudras are Tamasic. What does that mean? Shudra means we don't ask questions. You get on a bus or a public transportation, you will see people going from work to home, home to work, and they don't ask questions. Get their salary, do every day the same thing, and it's okay. No questions about higher subject matter. And that's Shudra mentality. Whereas Brahmanas, Kshatriyas, they're asking questions. Vaishyas, looking for money, creating economic structures, right? So this is how it's broken down. And so it affects the three modes of nature, affects everything in life, right? So maintaining, creation, destruction, time of the day, what work we do, everything gets influenced. It's like the RGB, the red, green, blue color combination, just like on your screen, what you're seeing right now is a combination of these colors. So like that, Sattvic, Rajasic, Tamasic, combined in various ratios and proportions, is you're getting what you're getting. Unfortunately, we let these influence us, and we are driving our life while sleeping. When Sattvic things push us, we go to the temple, do some meditation. When Rajasic pushes us, we become a little selfish. When Tamasic pushes us, we go to sleep or drink or do whatever, that is makes us dumb down. So rather than sleeping through life, spirituality is waking us up from this illusion to the reality. The reality is, I am Atma, part of Paramatma. And when I'm connected to Paramatma, either through bhakti, through karma, through gyan or ashtanga, right? Different forms of yogas are there. Majorly karma yoga, ashtanga yoga, gyan yoga, bhakti yoga. Bhakti, Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita chapter 6, text 47, that according to my opinion, bhakti is the best and the easiest process. So if Krishna is giving an opinion, he is God, and that's what matters. His opinion is the best opinion. So it's recommended that we do the bhakti process because it doesn't require high IQ or EQ. It only requires eagerness. That's the price we pay. And Krishna helps us. It requires dependence on the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And through that bhakti process, we can get a highest level of SQ that grows infinitely. Ananda Ambudhi Vardhanam, ocean of happiness growing infinitely, right? That's the reality. Everything else is illusion. World without Krishna, illusion. World with Krishna or God is reality. So just as IQ and EQ are measured, SQ is visible or measured through Sambandha Gyan, Abhidya Gyan, and Prayojana Gyan. As I mentioned already, Sambandha Gyan is how I, as a soul, relate to things around me. Karma, Kala, Ishvara, Jiva, Prakriti. That means karma are activities, how I act, how I speak, how I deal with other people. Kala, time. Prakriti, material nature, the three modes of nature, right? Sattva, Raja, Tama, we already covered that. Prakriti, we talked about. Jiva, other living entities and ourselves. And Ishvara, God. That's Sambandha Gyan. Prayojana Gyan is, what is the goal of life? Vaikuntha, Goloka Vrindavan, spiritual world, not heaven. Heaven is in the material world. If you go to heaven, 311 trillion years is your lifespan. Lord Brahma lives for 1000 yoga cycles. Okay, since you're professors, you will enjoy this. So what does that mean? Kali Yuga is 432,000 years. 432,000 years is the length of Kali Yuga. Double that, 8 lakh years is Dwapar. More than that is, so you can take the whole cycle Satya, Treta, Dwapar, Kali is 3.6 million years. 1,000 such yoga cycles is 1 day of Brahma. 1,000 such yoga cycles is 1 night of Brahma. Brahma lives for 100 years of Brahma Loka. If you do the mathematics, you will come to 311 trillion years. So when Lord Brahma comes, he has his cabinet of 33 crore, 33 crore Dev Devata, hum bolte hai, right? 33 crore demigods or devatas. Chandra, Surya, Varun, all of these, Ganesh, right? All these demigods are there. They're all in Swargalok. They all live for 311 trillion years. After which Brahma dies, universe annihilates, and new Brahma comes, and one of you might be the next Ganesh. One of you might be the next Surya. One of you might be the next Chandra, right? All of us jivas have the qualification. If we do the right things, the right yagyas, tapasya and all that, we can get to that position. So Gana Isha is Ganesh, one who helps us overcome obstacles. So like that, for example, Surya Dev, Surya Narayan, or so he's, who's Surya Dev? Ikshvaku. Not Ikshvaku, sorry, I'm forgetting the name. Forgive me. It's in Bhagavad Gita. Krishna says, I spoke the same Bhagavad Gita to Sun God 2 million years ago. You don't remember, Arjuna, you were there at the time. So he names who's Surya Dev. So there are different entities who are in this position. Varuna, Ganesha, these are entities. These are positions, just like finance minister, water minister, agri minister, like that. These are ministerial positions. And we jivas can be in those positions, higher positions, right? But that is not the end of, or the goal of life. The goal of life is beyond that, to go to out of this material world to Vaikuntha. Why Kuntha? Where there is no trouble. Kuntha means trouble. So there is no time in the spiritual world, no sense of time. Imagine what life would be without time. You don't have to, you're perpetually it's day and perpetually it's night simultaneously. We cannot even imagine it. It's like explaining to an ant what is iPhone. Ant would not understand. So similarly, it's a whole different dimension. But the point is, that's where Krishna is inviting us. Punarjanma na vidyate. Don't take birth again here. Follow my words and come back where you will never have to die again. You'll always be with me in your spiritual form, and we'll have loving exchanges. That is where Krishna is inviting us. So that's Prayojana Gyan. And so Sambandha Gyan is around us, how we are connecting Sambandh with everything else around us. Prayojana is the end goal, and Abhideya is how we get there through meditation, prasad, temples, worship, etc., right? Holy things, spiritual consciousness, gratitude, whatever. So the process of given in the Bhagavad Gita. So these three things, this is how we see a person who's progressing in SQ, spiritual quotient, we see them growing in this quotient. And that's how we know that this person is elevated, enlightened, etc., etc. But you cannot give a score to it. You cannot measure it as such. And my last slide, or second last slide, is about Isha Vasyam idam sarvam. So the end goal is to really, so what is that? Everything animate or inanimate that is within the universe is controlled and owned by the Lord. So the proprietorship is understanding that everything belongs to God. Just like a bank teller is counting money all day long, but he doesn't say, oh, this is my money. You cannot take even one rupee in your pocket because it's the bank's money. So similarly, when we live life that everything belongs to God, one should therefore accept only those things necessary for himself. So one doesn't over accumulate, over endeavor, over greed. Today, why there is so much, one person has everything and the 99% is suffering because of greed, right? So when we understand everything belongs to God, it's spiritual socialism in one sense, which are set aside by for his quota. So it's not like everybody should live in poverty. So according to one's quota, that means if you are a professor, you will need to have certain liberties. You need to have certain things in life. If you're a president of the United States, you need to have entourage, you need to have multiple cars, convoys, medical systems and all that. If you are a Brahmin, a priest, you don't need all of that stuff. You can be happy in a simple life. So depending on who you are, what you do, there is a quota for everyone. And one should not accept other things, knowing well to whom they belong, right? So typical example is Ravan. Ravan sees, initially Shurpanakha comes to Ravan and says, this Ram and Lakshman, these two brothers, they're in the forest, cut off my nose. Ravan is like, yeah, whatever, I don't care. Shurpanakha is like, okay, how to get my brother excited if I talk about women? It's like, there is Ram has a very good looking wife named Sita, and she's very, very beautiful. You might want to take a look at her. Ravan's like, oh, really, Sita? Let me go take revenge for your nose. And then Ravan comes flying in and it's like, oh, Sita is very beautiful. And so what's the materialistic idea? Something beautiful must be mine. Let me take it, right? What did the Vanar Sena do? They said, Sita Devi is Lord Ram's internal potency. So we have to bring her back to Lord Ramachandra. That's what a devotionally minded person does. Knowing everything belongs to God, connecting God's energy with God. So for example, everybody needs to eat food, but we recognize that the grains, the fire, the water, the intelligence to cook the food, all of that is coming from the source of all sources. So we acknowledge that and we offer the food to God first. We do bhog, hum bhog charate, right? And then after that, we take prasad. So in my house, every day we do that, right? I eat only prasad. So whatever food before eating, I with offer gratitude, say, my dear Krishna, please eat it because from you this has come. And after you eat, then I accept. So it's gratitude. In Christianity also, they pray grace, right? Before eating. And I'm sure Islam also has something similar. So every religion has that. So the spiritual understanding is acknowledging higher power with gratitude that I have been given something. Do we realize how beautiful the system is? Salt water from the ocean gets distilled water as clouds, gets transported by the wind, comes down as rain. And we're getting distilled water in our rivers and whatnot. We don't appreciate it. What a beautiful system God has created for us, right? Literally, it's the best purifying system. We don't have to pay for it, but we do with gratitude. That's what. So it's important that we understand everything belongs to the ultimate creator. We take what is needed. We serve humanity. We see each other as parts of God and we serve each other with humility. So if you are interested to go in this path of spirituality, I invite you every Friday, 7:30 p.m. on Zoom, virtually. We do Bhagavad Gita study, verse by verse, chapter by chapter. And I invite you to start the journey of spirituality or continue the journey of spirituality, which we have already started. You can WhatsApp this number and you will be added to our Philosophy Friday group. So thank you very much. I will end here. And if you have questions, a lot of questions. Okay, let's go through them little by little. I read somewhere that everything has created by vast empty space during Big Bang. and everything will be ending in black hole. Is it vast emptiness can be considered as God? No. So Big Bang, the bang that was being talked about, somebody pulled the plunger, right? So bang doesn't happen on its own. Something comes from some creator. So even if you look at the Vedic way of explaining it from Mahatattva, right? It has come out of very complicated stuff. I'm not going to spend too much time on. The point is, very similar explanation is given in the Vedas, but what the modern science misses out is it's coming from Mahavishnu, right? Mahavishnu instigates the Big Bang process, and that's the creator, not the emptiness. So just like if you're looking at chess, you can derive some of the formula for playing chess, but somebody who knows how to play chess knows how it works. So similarly, by observing, we get an incomplete picture. Complete picture, there's God behind it, who's instigating that process of Big Bang. Dr. Parveen Sam is saying very deep ideas. Hats off. Thank you so much. Dr. Geeta is saying SQ helps for mental well-being. SQ helps with everything. Mental, when you're mentally happy, physically also you're happy. You have less diseases, because most diseases come from your anxiety, depression, and all of that, right? So when you're happy, everything else flows. We should adopt the habit of experimenting with spirituality instead of denying the truthfulness of spiritual tenets. Absolutely. Sir, is it right to accept all these abstract ideas in this modern and pragmatic life where technology takes front seat and made the lives comfortable? I don't know, even one concept that I spoke about sounded abstract to you. I've given very clear, concrete examples of every single thing I spoke about, all from the scriptures and all relevant. We have to understand that technology by itself means nothing. If I turn off the Wi-Fi on this phone, it will be just a piece of plastic, glass, and metal. It's nothing, right? Technology is a tool. Internet is a tool. Some people use internet to do video conferencing. Some people are robbing banks with technology. So technology can be used based on who we are. There's somebody say something nice, saying guided missiles by misguided people. So we have to first perfect ourselves. Depending on who we are, we use technology. Comfort and all, yes, no denying it. But spirituality does not mean there's no comfort. There's more comfort in spirituality than anything else. So please understand, technology is a tool. And we have better tools, like weapons. We talk about fire weapons today. In Bhagavad Gita, Arjuna is telling Krishna, I can control the wind. He actually had tornado weapons. He had air weapons. He had water weapons. Today we have only fire weapons, right? Atom bombs, Brahmastra was present during that time. Point is, technology was very advanced in the Vedic period. We have lost all of that. Thank God, we are not qualified in Kali Yuga to use that technology. We would be burning this earth out over and over again. But the important part to understand is technology is a tool. If we are the right people to use the technology, we can use the same technology to advance civilization or destroy civilization. And it's very practical. 5,000 years ago, what was practical is practical today as well. Very insightful session. Thank you very much. What message does Ajamila deliverance by muttering the name of Lord at the time of death gives us? So for those of you who don't know the story of Ajamila, it was a person who was a very sinful person, who was born in a pious Brahmin family, but later on fell in love with a prostitute, left his wife and children, married the prostitute, and had children with her. And even in the ripe old age of 80 years of age, he had his son. Thankfully, he named the son Narayan. So when the Yamadutas came to take him, and you might think abstract idea, go read up some of the stuff on people dying at the last moment. You'll hear about Yamadutas over and over again from everywhere. Anyway, so when Yamadutas came to take him, he called out to his little boy Narayan, Narayan, save me! And Lord Narayan in Vaikuntha sent his Vishnudutas. He said, go save Ajamil. And the Vishnudutas were like, my Lord, he's asking for his son. He's like, doesn't matter. He said my name. Go right now, save him. So he's illogically loving. Lord Narayan is illogically loving. That's the nature. So Ajamila, although was a sinful person, because the time of death, in fear, he called out Narayan's name. Narayan didn't care that he's calling his son Narayan. He sent the Vishnudutas. And the Vishnudutas came and said, you cannot take him. You cannot take him to hell. We will take him back to Vaikuntha. Now, The point is, many people would be like, oh, good, I can live my life doing nonsense, and at the time of death, I can just call God's name and I can go back. No, it doesn't work like that. That's a gambling, right? You don't want to do, because you don't know how you're going to die. If you're going to be in coma or you're going to be suddenly hit, death doesn't come with the email notification. It can come any moment. So how you live your life defines what you think at the time of death, and your sincerity, based on that, Krishna reciprocates with you. So that's what you learn. One, Krishna is unlimitedly, illogically loving. He wants us back more than we want to be back. But at the same time, we should not try to gamble with our lives. We should try to do it the right way. Just like, you go to an exam and you just like, I'm not prepared, but I'm hoping to God I'll figure it out with common sense. Most likely it won't work, right? So better to prepare, study in advance, and go to the exam prepared. All right. Great explanation. Great. Wow. Previous slide was not clear. I don't know, Nasrin. If you can explain to me which slide you're referring to, I'll be happy to help. Dr. Megha is saying, very true. This was how actually the castes were decided, not by birth, but by nature. That's what Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita. Can we consider this vast emptiness as Krishna? Krishna is not empty, please. Krishna is very loving. He is a personality. Of course, he's not blood, flesh like us. He's a spiritual personality. But emptiness is very boring. See, we cannot live without touching our phone for 5 seconds. How boring would it be if God was all empty, right? So God has a personality. We pray to God. There's reciprocation. It's very juicy. It's very chemistry oriented. That's why bhakti is so nice, because there's relationship with God. It's not just empty black hole. That's not what Krishna is. That's not what he says in Bhagavad Gita for sure. Okay, sir, apart from Bhagavad Gita, what other spiritual books we should refer to? Quotient? Bhagavad Gita is a great start. It's the ABC, right? Krishna starts from zero, where Arjuna is in dilemma, confusion, and from there, he takes Arjun to the highest level of spiritual understanding. Srimad Bhagavatam is 18,000 verses. So once you have read the Bhagavad Gita, understood it, go to Srimad Bhagavatam, right? There it's everything. I mean, so much details, you'll go nuts. Right? Details about the universe, details about the mind, details about every cell, details about, oh my God, it is very, very big and vast. So even if you've not read anything and just read the Bhagavad Gita, your life is perfect. Don't worry. But since you're all highly elevated people, educated people, Srimad Bhagavatam is another. Upanishads you can also read. Isha Upanishad, Mundaka Upanishad, Kalisantarana Upanishad specifically for Kali Yuga. But Gita Upanishad, Gita is the starting point. Start with that, then you could always proceed. Unlimited knowledge is there. Or even though they have burned down Nalanda and 96% of the Vedas are not there, still, whatever we have, unlimited knowledge. One lifetime is not enough. Not required also. Bhagavad Gita alone, meant for Kali Yuga, enough to perfect us. So, if you are average intelligence like me, then Bhagavad Gita is good enough. Why, sir, quoting examples from Vedas alone, as it is common FDP for all races? Because I know only Vedas. I've been referring to other religions, but I don't know about Christianity. I don't know about Islam so deeply as I know about Vedas. So I'm referring from the Vedas because that's what invited. You would speak about your expertise, right? So I will not judge other religions which I'm not expert in. So I'm only speaking from my vantage point. I'm sure you'll hear from other religious people, from other speakers. I agree. Excellent explanation. Really great. 33 Koti Dev is 33 categories of gods. Is it not true? Yes, that's right. 33 crore categories, rather. Great understanding and great speech. Thank you very much. Final God is only one infinite empty force, which we cannot see. For that reason, we can indirectly worship God with different names. We cannot see with these eyes, but as we enlighten, right? As we enlighten with the eyes of our soul, then we can see God, right? And it's visible through the hearing process. So right now, if you don't know who Amitabh Bachchan is, and he stands in front of you, you'll be like, who's this guy? You'll just treat him like another human being, right? But you'll be like, oh my God, there's Amitabh Bachchan, superstar. It happened actually. Amitabh Bachchan was on a business class flight with, I think it was Jamshedji Tata or some Ratan Tata's predecessor. And that guy was a very shrivelly, thin old man. And Amitabh Bachchan was like, how come he's not even looking at me as if I'm nobody? Amitabh Bachchan was at the time, like, this is the 70s. He was like top star. So he said, do you know me? He said, no, I don't know you. what's your name? So my name is Amitabh Bachchan. It's like, oh, what do you do? I'm a movie star. Have you heard of Diwar and these movies? Oh, I don't watch movies. It's like, oh, okay. So it's like, what is your name? He said, I am, I think it was Jamshedji Tata. It's like, I'm Jamshedji Nauroji Tata. It's like, oh, wow. Amitabh Bachchan was like, oh, this guy's actually bigger than me. And I was underestimating him. The point is, if we don't know, we don't know how to see God. So how do we see God? When Krishna says, this is how you see me. In chapter 10 of Bhagavad Gita, Krishna defines the entire chapter is saying, this is how you get to see me. So those who said, show me God, go read Bhagavad Gita chapter 10, and you can see God everywhere in everything, right? And for those of you from other religions might be feeling a little offended that I'm speaking about the Vedic understanding. Let me tell you something. I have grown up in a Christian missionary school, studying the Bible and scoring very well and actually worshiping Christ. And in college, I did 2 semesters of Islamic thoughts, and I have studied the entire life of Prophet Muhammad, the Quran and everything. And I have more appreciation for Christianity, the teachings of Christ rather, the teachings of Muhammad, than most people I have met who are from that religion. And the reason why is because Bhagavad Gita is not about one religion. It is a principle, the tenets behind God consciousness. So whether it's Allah, or you call Jehovah, or you call Buddha, or you call Ram, or you call Krishna, those are different names of God. But the way to understand God, the way to understand our mind, the way to connect with God, it is given in the form, in the Vedic literatures, which is not sectarian, which is not about a certain way of doing things. Don't eat this, don't eat that, don't do this, don't. That's what we hear about religion, but it's about how to love God, plain and simple. And, I don't like to debate about religious topics, but let me tell you that there is no conflict between religions. The conflict is half intelligent people with half knowledge finding only differences because we want to fight. This is Kali Yuga. People who are knowledgeable appreciate each other. I have so many friends from Harvard Divinity School who are experts in Christianity, experts in Islam, and we go together in interfaith dialogues, and we have a tremendous time appreciating each other's philosophies on how to love God. And it makes us closer to God, right? So please don't be offended that I'm talking about the Vedas. It is not sectarian. It's not about just Hinduism. It's about spirituality in general. All right, final great session. Thank you very much. Rama, Krishna, Buddha, Christ, all are self-realized people. They're enlightened people, but not God. God is only one which is beyond our imagination. Okay, that's what you think. That's not what the scriptures say. All the mathematical equations will end in the point of singularity and black hole. Nobody can explain God through technical knowledge and only. Okay, that's again a comment. Great session indeed. Thank you very much. Informative session. Thank you very much. Will bhakti change our fate if we do it with ultimate goal of worshipping Lord Krishna? Yes. Bhakti burns our karma. So we have trillions of lifetimes of karma. And when we come into the jurisdiction of bhakti, in the process of loving God, right? So our karma gets, good and bad karma, both gets burnt. Right? Because if you have good karma, you have to take another birth to live a life of Janma, Aishwarya, Shruta, Shri. That means good birth, Aishwarya, a lot of wealth, Shruta, a lot of knowledge and education, intelligence, Shri, good looks. When you have these things, you have a good, pious karma. That's why you have these things. And when you don't have these things, that means bad karma from the past. Point is, right now you can do what you need to do to create your future. So important part is, your past can be completely eradicated and erased. I have seen people astrologically, they should be dead or they should be a vegetable, but they're thriving. And that's because their entire karmic stockpile has been cleaned out by the fire of bhakti. So yes, your complete bhakti can completely transform your destiny. Very informative session, nice explanation, fantastic session. I was wondering how would I manage a 2-hour session after a hectic day today, but now I wish the session lasted longer. Not for a minute did I minimize my window to check out social media handles. Loved it. Thank you very much. Means a lot, Ms. Simran Kaur. Ashish, wonderful session, sir. You have covered up something that's discussed less these days. Fusion of modern and ancient education. Nice session, clear. Thank you very much. I really appreciate that. Okay. Sir, fruits of action really exist, or they are just natural products. So you guys are amazing professors, right? And the fruits of your action are these amazing students that are working in amazing places and coming back to you maybe after years and saying, Professor, you changed my life. Thank you so much. Is that true or not? So yes, it is absolutely true. Fruits of action are very true. Thank you, sir. What is the meaning of your name, Avelo? Avelo is from the middle name of Thomas Edison, Thomas Alva Avelo, right? Thomas Alva Edison. So my mother decided to give me that name. Awesome session. Thank you so much. Excellent session. Jamshedji Tata. Please, what is mantra, sir? Please explain on it. Mantra, manaha trayate iti mantra. That which relieves the mind. So certain sound vibrations that release the mind, like Om or Gayatri mantra or Hare Krishna mantra, that has supernatural powers to relieve the mind from the clutter and the discord of anxiousness and lust, greed, envy, pride, all of that, that make us, make our lives difficult. Okay, sorry, I'm going to ignore all the wonderful comments you're giving. I'm just going to focus on the questions because time is less. I've 4 minutes left. Ishwara Parama Krishna Sachidananda Vigna. Very nice. What is the meaning of your name? Second person, deep knowledge and excellence. Thank you. Okay, awesome. Sir, 3 guru mantras for happy living and takeaway. Your 3 guru mantras. I don't know what guru mantra is, but like I said, Sambandha Gyan, know who you are, who God is, and what you're meant to do, how to reach God. Right? That if you can understand that, everything falls in place. Based on that principle, you can help people, serve people, and do what is really good for people. Otherwise, the path to hell, this is a Christian saying, by the way, the path to hell is paved by good intentions. Sometimes we have good intentions, but we don't know what is good for people, and we end up hurting them. When you know the scriptures, when you know the Shastra, then you can actually help people by doing what is best for their soul, mind, and body. IQ, EQ, SQ. Thank you very much. Very grateful to have the opportunity to be with you. And if those of you joined Philosophy Friday, I look forward to seeing you there.